Yeah, I actually think that I did. I mean, and then that's a very strange answer, but I started drawing at the age of 3, and and I didn't figure this out until years later, but the very first drawings I did were sequential. They were, you know, a character coming into a room, and then the next panel was the character saying something or sitting down, and then the next panel was and they were meant to be viewed in a certain order. They weren't great drawings. They were the same stick figures every 3-year-old does, but they were sequential, and I think that in my own crude 3-year-old way, I was trying to make movies right from the very beginning. JJ and I had been looking for an opportunity to work together for years, and the timing never worked out. And I met Tom right after Incredibles, and we had this long, you know, 2 or 3 hour discussion about movies and what we loved about them, and who we admired, and all of this. So when they invited me to get involved, they really wanted me to, you know, do what I do, and so it wasn't like I had to convince anybody. It was different for me in that I didn't write the script, and we didn't have a lot of prep time on it, even though it was this huge and very complicated movie. I don't really love writing. It's hard. It's kind of a pain in the ass. It's lonely. But I love, as a director, I love having written, because I understand the screenplay better than anyone. And so when somebody questions me on it, I can answer, because I literally tried that, and they'll go, what if you, and I'll go, tried it, didn't work because you know, so I have a thorough knowledge of it. And that's really handy when you direct. On this, I didn't as much, and the script was always changing a little bit. So you had to go a little more on intuition on things, and sometimes you'd shoot things a couple of ways because you didn't know which way it was going to land. But there's a certain energy that comes with that, of being a little unsure, and we joked on the film that we were like the guys in the movie, because we were kind of cut off, meaning that we're away from home, you know, we don't quite know what we're doing, we think we got it figured out, but things are constantly, you know, shifting underneath us, and we have to react. And I think there's an energy that comes from that you can feel on the screen. I have fear of bad movies. Yeah. I don't ever want to be making one, you know, if I can avoid it in any way. Yeah, we were all over the place. You know, it wasn't like I had to swing around the outside of the building, so that didn't bother me so much. I mean, I felt for Tom, but he was having the time of his life, so it was hard to feel too sorry for him. I think everyone else was going, oh my God, there's my paycheck, you know. If anything happens, we don't have a movie. It was really funny being in Prague, because it's one of the most, I think it's one of the most beautiful cities in the world, and yet all of our locations were like this, you know, communist era prison that had been, you know, shut down 30 years ago, and you know, it was cold and drafty, and then we were in this hospital, you know, this narrow hallway with 1,000,000 extras, and then we were in a sewer, and you know, it was like pick the 10 worst places in Prague, and that's all the places we were shooting. And then we'd finish, and you'd be in this gorgeous city, and like, what hole are we going in tomorrow, you know? Well, I think that any time that you do a sequel, and particularly when you're doing the third sequel, you have the burden of expectations. And I think that you can either take that as a burden of like, oh God, they're expecting me to do duh, I guess I have to do it. Or you can say, they're expecting me to go right here. I'm going to go left, or I'm going to suddenly go into a power dive, or maybe I'll go straight up to the ceiling. I think that you can take their expectations and turn them on their head, and that was one of the ones that I think we did, and I think we did it several times in this movie.
It was good. I just thought maybe you just looked at the other films and went, there's no way Tom Cruise could be Philip Seymour Hoffman. That just doesn't work.
Hey, I thought they did a good job with that.
No,
They did it good. I think Tom wanted to have a stunt where there was no place to hide padding. And he wanted to do, we won't say what the stunt is for your readers, but he wanted to mess with people's explanation for how he could do something like that. And by taking away shoes and kind of eliminating places to hide that stuff, it kind of upped the level of that stunt. And I think that was his intent, not showing off his pectorals, even though they're very nice pectorals. Here's the thing about live action and animation. Animation is an indoor sport. You are creating the worlds that you present on screen. And you can do that whether it's dark, light, inclement, beautiful weather out, it doesn't matter. You're inside and it's a controlled environment. When you make a live action film, you're subject to the whims of schedule, weather, what kind of night the actor had the night before. All of those things kind of, if people start getting sick on the set, that can impact, but you sort of have to press on because the amount of money being spent once principal photography starts, the amount of money being spent every hour. I mean, you'd be shocked when you learn, how much is, if you stop and think about that much money was just spent in a second. Oh, and there's another. You'd freak out. You can't deal with it that way. You just have to go, okay, what do I need to do to make this happen? And if it doesn't work, you have to come up with a solution right then. You can't postpone the decision till later. And that pressure is different from animation. Animation has pressure, but it's a little more even and it's spread over a longer period of time. The films that I admire most, the action movies I admire most, are ones where the hero is flawed and things don't, like I think Raiders of the Lost Ark and Die Hard are two of the best action films ever made. And in both of them, the hero is flawed. He gets the crap beaten out of him during the course of the film. And there is a certain lightness to how these very heavy situations are presented. And in both instances, I always thought Sean Connery was the best Bond because even though the films didn't take themselves tremendously seriously, when he got into trouble, you could see his life flashing before his eyes. In that scene in From Russia with Love, the fight on the train with Robert Shaw, yes. Connery conveys that he thinks he's going to die. You can see it in his eyes. I'm going to die. I'm going to die in this train car with this guy that I was just talking with 5 minutes ago so civilly is killing me and I'm going to be gone. And because he is able to convey that, you buy in to this really kind of crazy story. And you're in. And I think Harrison Ford learned from that and when he did Indiana Jones, and I think Bruce Willis learned from that. And in both instances, you can see fear in their characters' eyes, but they go ahead anyway. And I think that that's what we would like to think that we would do. We know that if we were in the positions that those characters in, we'd be scared shitless. And we like to think that we would go ahead anyway. Well, I think that it's like a good, soup or gumbo or whatever, in that you want a lot of different ingredients that all have different flavors, that you're not looking for just an attractive cast that have no personalities whatsoever. You're looking for, it's almost like very distinctive instruments that sound good harmonically together. And I think one of the delights of this film was, in addition to our four IMFers, Tom Cruise and Jeremy Renner and Simon Pegg and Paula Patton, we had an international cast that had some amazing actors from all over the world. You know, and every one of them you understand either why they're a star or why they're going to be. I think people are going to see a different side of Léa Seydoux, who played the assassin, you know, Moreau in the film. And, you know, Indian audiences are already aware of how great Anil Kapoor is, and Russian audiences know Vladimir Mashkov, and they're stars for a reason, because they light up the camera, you know, and so a chance to work with them was just fantastic. Again, I think that I got spoiled on this film.
Cool.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.